Hello again, Jeremy Jordan here. Welcome to Thinking Out Loud. Doing another video on an idea I had. Now this idea I've had for 10 years I think now. Maybe a little longer than that. And this idea was how to simplify our tax system. Because right now, the way we pay taxes, our federal taxes, is way too complicated. And I think every American watching this can agree with that. The way we pay federal taxes right now is ridiculous. And we need to simplify it. And the idea I came up with actually stemmed from, I think it was Herman Cain a while ago when he was running for president. He came up with his 999 plan. That started my process into thinking about simplifying the tax code. I like some aspects of his 999 plan, but there were a lot of things I didn't like about his tax plan. I also have always been a partial fan of the fair tax idea. I don't know if you know what the fair tax is. You can look it up, Google it. It's basically shifting to more of a sales tax rather than an income tax. And once again, there were a lot of things I liked about the fair tax, but there were things I didn't like that were involved in the fair tax. Some people have come up with a flat tax idea. No, that's a horrible idea. It sounds good. It sounds fair. But a flat tax just will not work. You can't set a single rate that is fair. Because if you set it high enough where you're taxing the rich people what we need to get from them, you're going to be way overtaxing the poor people. You got to remember, about 45% of people don't pay federal income tax. So if you set a flat tax, you are automatically raising 45% of the country's tax rate without them having any say or control over it. And to me, that's just not right. And if you set it low enough where it doesn't affect them too much, you're not bringing in enough money to cover the national expenses. So I took all these different ideas, the 999 plan, the fair tax, and the flat tax, and I kind of worked them and kind of combined them and came up with what I call my 10-20 tax plan. So, and it has 3 parts. It's called the 10-20 tax plan. The first part is a 10% income tax for anything people make over $500,000. Now, before I go into details about that, there is one thing I do need to mention is under this tax plan, the first step is to get rid of all federal taxes. So all the current federal taxes we pay, wipe off the books. So we're starting from scratch here. That's the first thing people need to understand. The second thing people need to understand is when I'm talking income for this tax plan, I'm talking all income. Right now, income is divided into different segments or sectors. You have earned income, you have passive income, and you have capital gains income. And they are taxed differently. The theory or the idea behind that is you want people that invest their money or people that build companies or build businesses that stimulate the economy, you want to give them a tax break. And I do understand the reasoning behind that. It's a solid premise. It's a solid reasoning. But for my tax plan, the way I'm designing this tax plan to simplify everything, all income will be included and treated equally. It no longer will matter how you make your money. I don't care if it's earned, if it's passive, if it's investment income, capital gains. And remember, there is no capital gains anymore with my plan, so that's gone. So all income gets clumped together. The first 500,000, there's no tax on that income. So there is a 0 tax rate on the first 500,000. Anything beyond 500,000 will get taxed a flat rate, 10%. So it's kind of like a flat tax, except it's a 2-tier progressive tax. It's the way you can look at it. It's not a true flat tax, which is across the board. It's a 2-tier progressive tax. 0 taxes for the first 500,000, and then 10% for everything beyond that. And people ask all the time, they're like, well, what about deductions? We have all these deductions now, homes and this and that and business and that. Get rid of all of them. I would allow 1 deduction for income, and that's charitable contribution. A person is allowed to deduct anything they give to charity because I think donations to charity are incredibly important for our society. And I think if you got rid of that deduction, the drop in charity would have devastating consequences for our society as a whole and all these charitable organizations that do such amazing good things for our society. So there would be the 1 deduction on your income, and that be charitable contribution. So if someone makes, $600,000 and they don't want to pay tax and they give $100,000 to charity, that's cool. You get down to that 500 mark, you won't have to pay any taxes. It's very simple. For the vast majority of Americans, they would pay no income tax. This is pretty much a tax on the rich, because I do agree with the left and the progressives in such that they say the rich should pay more. I know conservatives and stuff don't agree with that. And usually I'm a pro-capitalist, free market type guy. But I do agree with the premise that people that have the 1%, the high end of the spectrum, should pay a little more in taxes. And that's why I do the 10% income tax for everything over 500,000. Because if you're making more than 500,000, you can handle a 10% income tax. And that's lower than the tax rate they're paying now. So it's essentially a tax cut for them. Even if it's capital gains is still currently over 10%. So it's a cut to capital gains tax. It's a major cut in taxes across the board. Everyone gets a tax cut when it comes to their income tax. The rich people don't pay as much, and the vast majority of people pay nothing for an income tax. The other problem with taxes is we have way too many businesses that are paying no taxes. And the idea behind that is these businesses are providing jobs and they're stimulating the economy, and we want to foster that. We want to support that. So, giving them a tax break is a good thing, and la 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 la. All of that is sound. All of that makes sense. All of it is logical. But I think every company should have skin in the game. Every company. I don't care if this is a small business, a mom and pop store on the corner store. I don't care if it's Amazon or a big oil company. All of them should contribute. And this is how it would work. Every business, from the smallest business to the biggest business, would pay a 10% profit tax. That means if that business shows a profit, no matter how big the profit is, no matter how small the profit is, if they have a $100 profit, they pay $10 in taxes. If they have, no matter what the profit is, they pay a 10% tax on the profit, not their total income, not the cash flow, not gross sales or anything like it. Profit, just profit. They show their profit, take 10% of it, and that's your tax for the year, 10% profit. That's it. Now, corporations will also be allowed to utilize the one deduction, which is charitable contributions. A company can give money to a charity and reduce their profit for that amount. And if you notice, both the income tax and the profit tax is exactly the same. It's 10%, and I did that on purpose. If you had those different, say you had the income tax higher than the profit tax, you would see money shift. Companies would be keeping the money in-house and giving people less income to try to get around the tax. Or if it was the other way, people would get more income from the company to reduce their profits. By setting both of these, the profit tax for businesses and the income tax at 10%, it reduces the likelihood of money shifting between income and business profit. You wouldn't see money move around as much because there really isn't any advantage if it's both the same rate. So that's the 10 of the 10/20. Get all companies to put in their fair share, 10% of their profits, and get the high-end rich people, the 1%, to put in their fair share, 10% of their income above $500,000. Now, unfortunately, it would be great to just stop there, but that isn't nearly enough money to run our government. So the second, or the third part, I should say, the first half has two parts. The 10 of the 10/20 plan has two parts, 10% income, 10% business profit. The 20 is a 20% national sales tax on all new goods and services, just like the fair tax. If you're familiar with the fair tax, this part of it is almost identical. Now, the fair tax, I think, had a rate of like 27 originally, then they moved it to 24. It's from my understanding, the number has moved a few times, but it's somewhere around the mid-20s. This is 20% flat. And it's only new goods and services. So this tax would not be used on used goods and services. Just like the fair tax, exactly like the fair tax. Now, the fair tax had this idea of credits to help people pay the tax. No, I wouldn't do any of that. No tax credits. But there would be two exceptions to this. First exception is on medicine. There would be no 20% sales tax on any medicine. Medicine's too expensive as it is. We don't need to tax it and make it more expensive. Medicine is way too vital of a service for people in society. Would not be associated or put on medicine. And basic food would be the other exception. You go to the grocery store and you buy food, you don't get taxed. However, you go to a restaurant and you get food, then the 20% would apply. And some people say, well, you can't do that. How would people know the difference? Well, I live in New Hampshire, and we have a sales tax, a restaurant sales tax, and no sales tax on the food in the grocery store. So I can tell you it can be done. Come to New Hampshire if you want to see it play out in reality. You know, we tax our restaurants, 9% sales tax on restaurants. There's no sales tax if you buy food at the grocery store. So I know for a fact it can be done this way, and that would be exempt from the 20% sales tax. So what I call basic food, not restaurants or prepared food, but basic foods, grocery stores, and medicine. All other new goods and services would be taxed 20% sales tax. Now people are thinking, oh, that's really high. Well, not really, because you're not paying any income tax. If you're paying currently 15 to 20% of your income in taxes, say you're paying 15% income, well, the thing is you're paying 15% of your entire income. But with the sales tax, you are in control. You can decide if you want to buy something new or buy it used. If you want to go to the restaurant versus the grocery store, you are in control. You can adjust how much tax you pay based on how you buy things. It puts the American people in control, and that's what I like about this idea, is that 20% sales tax, they can modify it based on their purchasing habits. Instead of just having all your income stripped of 15, 20%, whatever your tax rate is. One other thing is, one thing I like about this, having a sales tax, is everyone who's here, whether they're here legally or illegally, if they're buying new goods and services, they would contribute to the tax base. And you wouldn't have to worry about hunting them down or this or that. They would just naturally contribute to the taxes through their purchasing, which I think would be a much better way to deal with aspects of that, with people being here illegally and not paying taxes. Because odds are they're not going to make enough money to be paying the income tax, so they'll be paying their share of the tax just through their purchasing. So that's the plan. Again, it's 10% income tax over $500,000, 10% profit tax on all businesses, small to large, no exceptions, and a 20% national sales tax on new goods and services, excluding medicine and basic food, and people can use charitable contribution to reduce their profits and or income to reduce their tax. That's it. You could fill this out in a single page. One page. Maybe a second page if you have a lot of sources of income. Who knows? But max, absolute max I could see is 3 pages to do this taxes. Ideally, it would be a 2-page form you fill out each year and you're done. Easy, simple, understandable. So that's my 10/20 tax plan. My name is Jeremy Jordan, and this is Thinking Out Loud. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.